Have you ever wondered how people find their way into the ISO industry or what opportunities exist in this dynamic field? Did you know that quality coordinator ranks as one of the fastest growing roles? And surely that's a sign of how crucial quality management has become across all industries. And yet, so few people grow up dreaming of being an ISO professional. So how do they end up there? And more importantly, why do they stay? This episode, we're going to shine a light on those pathways, including a wide range of roles that are available for those interested in making an impact through the ISO standards. Welcome to Lead the Standard. Hi and welcome. I am Kelly Taylor, and as always, I'm thrilled to have you join Jackie and I for today's conversation. ISO Careers Uncovered, where could you fit in? This week, like every other week, our conversation is a continuation of our latest newsletter, which explores the LinkedIn Jobs on the Rise report for 2025. And conveniently, you can also find our newsletter on LinkedIn. Good morning, Jackie.
Hello, Kelly. I'm here. I just had to find my voice quickly then.
It's early. It is early.
It is.
Jackie, today you are going to talk us through 5 key career opportunities within the ISO industry, from systems representative and consultants to auditors and trainers and even coaches, and how each role offers a unique way to grow, specialise and make a real difference. And I think we all need that in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
But before we jump into those details, I would love to hear your thoughts on why the ISO field is so often an accidental career path.
Oh, good question. Because so many people that I talk to do accidentally fall into it. I think maybe because now if we come straight out of even high school or uni, I don't think we've developed that application of our knowledge yet, and we may not have been exposed to systems and processes and improvement and streamlining. It's something that develops as you do it, I guess. It's real on the job exposure. And yes, definitely in some degrees, university courses, adult education, they do talk about systems and continual improvement. But again, that's the knowledge. So it's the application that is the key. And I think once you get to apply it and use it and be exposed to it, I think that's when the light bulbs go off. And also possibly, then you also get exposed to other people that are in the industry. So you'll see auditors in action, you'll see consultants in action, you'll see quality or HSE managers in action, and you'll start to see what that looks like. So it's not something that, unless you're my children or your children, you're not exposed to it like, firemen, hairdressers, doctors, etc., which, are the traditional, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah. Awesome. So what inspired this topic this week?
Well, you mentioned it, that LinkedIn Jobs on the Rise report that came out, I think it was a few weeks ago, and what a pleasant surprise to see something so specific from our industry ranked at number 9, a quality coordinator. It's very specific. So I thought, oh, this is exciting. Like, I could do a post, but even better, let's write a newsletter. And that's when I thought, well, it's a job on the rise. How do we end up here? And that's where I sort of went back to, what do I want to do when I grow up? And that's, where the traditional fireman, teacher, doctor, and I did some research nowadays, apparently, because my kids are adults now, they're not little. I did some research, and apparently it's common for little kids to say they want to become a YouTuber these days. Or a gamer or something like that. So there's new ones since, our children were little and since we were little. So it got me thinking, and look, it might be obvious, I don't know, but it got me thinking about the different types of jobs we can do here in the industry, because you
Mm,
think about it, even with Atoll, for example,
yeah.
you know, I can say I'm a trainer and assessor as for auditing, quality, environment, and OH&S. You can say you're an assessor for auditing.
Mm,
I'm also a certification auditor, also a coach.
mm,
But we have a whole team of people that are not auditors or consultants or coaches in ISO, but they're still in the ISO industry. Yes, they, customer service, they know a lot about the ISO industry. So there's all of these sort of sub roles as well. I have not included that in what I uncovered, but I realized that, there's this whole set of core types of roles, and then the different types of standards fit in to all of them as well. So while they're a core role, they can be fleshed out into all different scopes, you could say, as well. So that's sort of where I went with, okay, this is what you can do, but also don't forget you can be exposed to these roles by just working within an organization that its key product or service is in the ISO industry. Yeah, so I just remembered as I was explaining that I worked with a lady, I was going to say this year, but it's now last year. And she was working for a really large national ISO consulting firm, and she was doing administration. So she was setting up the systems for their new clients, sort of in the platform that the company uses. So she was setting up the risk registers, the policies, like all of the stuff that could sort of be repeatable as the basis or framework. And then the consultant would come in and then I suppose make it unique for the client. And Julie was her name, Julie Matheson, and she loved being exposed to this. That's how she became exposed to it, and she thought, oh, I really love this. This is something I want to do. So she came from that point of administration and being exposed to it to now she's working as a fully fledged HSE and risk advisor for like a tier 2 resources company.
yeah.
So you can see, you can start at any point and be exposed to it and grab that experience and application, and then shuffle up across around wherever you want to be in the industry.
I like that you said they're across, because I've worked in a few different industries, and the amount of across way opportunities in the ISO world is, I feel, quite infinite. There are thousands and thousands of standards, and as you said, all of those little
Mm-hmm.
subsets. So look, it would be a little bit nerdy for the school guidance counsellor to turn around and say, I recommend a career in ISO. But certainly, I think if people knew the opportunities, then I think we'd have more than just quality in the top 10 there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose while quality coordinator is specifically mentioned at number
Mm.
9 out of the top 15, to
Call it the top
me,
10. Sounds better.
the top 10, that's right. Yeah. So it did make the top 10. So to me, it sort of stands as a bit of a beacon to say, well, it's quality coordinator. It demonstrates the need or the move or the continued move towards this conformance, which in itself then supports the other scopes like OHS, environment, information security, and so on. So it sort of stands, and as you know, I always say quality is sort of the framework,
Mm.
So other things fit into there, even though it's specifically quality coordinator. I really think it's pulling everything that we know into that.
Yeah.
I might be biased.
Not at all. Um, we've we I'll claim credit. I've done nothing. We've created a wonderful pathway for this. I would really love to share it. So, do you want to get into your? Well, you've given us a short answer a little bit. So you've given us a few.
Yeah, I'll introduce it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I mentioned, the ISO industry offers this wide range of career pathways. So, it provides opportunities for us for growth, specialization. So, as I mentioned, it can go across, up, out, wherever. This is why I've put together this ISO opportunities chart, which highlights 5 key streams within the ISO field. They each offer like distinct roles. Some might overlap, which I'll explain a bit further later on. And they can be applied across various ISO standards, as I mentioned. So that can be quality, environment, OH&S, information security, food safety, and so much more. And if you're watching Kelly showing the career pathways on
If you're not,
screen,
it's in our newsletter.
and it's in our newsletter, which the link will be in our notes as well. So did you want me to go through each and explain, Kelly?
Let's touch on each one really quickly, and then we'll get into them in a little bit more detail.
Okay, so the 5 of them are a system representative, and I'll explain that a bit later. An auditor. I sort of want to get stuck into it. That's why I'm back. Okay, let's start again. And
That's
I'm
right.
whatever
Right.
I mention, don't get scared off, because I will explain a bit further as we look into each of them. Okay, so I'll preface with that. So
Yeah.
the 5 for the ISO industry career pathways are a system rep or system representative, an auditor, a consultant, ISO consultant, training and development, and coaching and mentoring. They're the 5 that we're going to break down.
Yeah.
Happy
Let's get
now?
into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Always happy.
So the first one that Kelly and I are going to cover is the system representative. So this was the one that I was itching to explain myself a little bit more about, because the system representative is sort of, I picked it like a generic word for this because it can cover so many things. So it is like a system rep is still a very important role within a business. So they normally work internally. So normally a system rep is a salary position, and they work internally for an organization. So the name of your position could include a coordinator, a manager, a compliance officer. So, just because I say system representative doesn't mean it has to be called that. It might be called something different, but as I said, these people work within an organization. They're reviewing the systems internally. They collaborate and work with different departments. They monitor performance of the system and whether it's meeting requirements. They I don't really like this word, prepare for audits. They maintain the system so they're always ready for audits. They might also conduct internal audits as well. And of course, that's all about continual improvement. So that's a real, I suppose, pivotal role. And they might also conduct some internal training, I've just thought, because it's about getting people on board within the organization to drive improvement within the system that they're representing, I guess you could say. Does that
Yeah.
explain it?
Absolutely. And I think that perfectly explains where Julie came in. So I've had a little bit to do with Julie as well. And to watch her go from, I'm a little bit bored, I can see an opportunity, to where she is now has been really exciting to watch. Even just on LinkedIn, we're not in direct contact anymore, but seeing her progression so quickly and how she's doing is great. Um, but as you said, there's so many different things in there. You were talking earlier, and I highlighted how I like how this is such a crossways opportunity. And you said that you're a trainer and assessor in ISO X, Y, and Z, and I'm an assessor in auditing. But part of my role is also this, and part of our team's role is also this. It might, well, this is part of my PD, but for our team, not all of this fits in their PD, but it's something that they're doing. So I think a lot of people, without even realizing it, again, the accidental career path, are, look, depending on their business and how their business works, most people are a systems representative
Mhm.
without even realizing that. So
Yeah.
I got really excited when I saw this too. As you said, coordinator, manager, compliance officer, anybody who works in or on a system has experience as a systems representative.
Yeah.
And this is, I feel, well, we haven't kind of given this a hierarchy this week, but this is your starting point, your
Yeah.
exposure to
Yes,
the industry.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I guess, yeah, I didn't give this a hierarchy, but there quite possibly is, because
Mm,
obviously, and it depends on your level of experience as a system representative, of course,
mm,
but you know, you may not be able to go straight into a training role because there's
yeah,
additional qualification or competency requirements there, coaching, mentoring. But coaching, mentoring, you think about it, you're probably doing it, or you should be doing it,
as
as a positive role model leader within this
mm,
space as a system representative. You will be mentoring and coaching people because that's how you get them on board. That's how you facilitate change. So
yeah,
they all sort of do, yeah, wrap together in some way, shape, and form. But that's a really good point. Yeah, we mentioned Julie as the administrator for an ISO consultancy, a large one with many consultants. That
mm,
that was her exposure. But yeah, even say you, the team at Atoll, we're all system representatives. We're all managing systems here and
yeah.
making them easy for others to do our back us up so we can have holidays, to benefit our customers, to ensure that consistency and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
I
good
think that's
point.
a really important space to start. And look, if you are in a business where you don't have a systems representative or you don't feel there is a systems representative, self-nominate.
That's true.
We can't see any systems here. I think we can do this better. I'd like
Yeah,
to get in it. We're talking about systems here. It doesn't necessarily need to be ISO, but if you start generally in systems, then you'll get that exposure, you'll get that
yeah,
experience. You might start naturally looking at ISO and you'll find so many opportunities for the
yeah,
business, which is in the back end kind of good for you as well. But yeah, this is
yeah,
such an exciting space that 90% of us are already in. We
yeah,
just, not
yeah.
everyone
I'm
has
laughing.
identified that opportunity.
No, I'm laughing because when you said that self-nominate, it reminded me of Talita. So Talita used to work
Yeah.
here at Atoll, and she was our marketing coordinator. And when she left and moved on to bigger and better
Yes.
things, yeah, do you remember she came to us and went, "Oh my
Oh
God,
my
the
God.
systems here are non-existent." Like, and we always used to, and Talita will also laugh at this because Talita was new to
Oh,
systems and documentation as well when she came to us, and we sort of had to teach
she
her and
needed a lot of
show her,
encouragement. Yes.
encourage. That's right, support her with it, and then she noticed the difference when she went somewhere else and went, "Sorry, where's the procedure for this? How do I do this?" And there were no procedures. There was nothing. And that's when she came to us and went, "Oh my God, you should see this. I am taking charge and ensuring that there are documents here because there's nothing."
Yeah. And I think that's why as soon as you said her, the fact that I remembered that straight away says a lot. But yeah, Talita was, when she was here, wasn't always one to take charge. And when she sent us that email and was like, "What?" I think it was might have even been a message on
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger or something. She's like, "What? Like this is broken. I need to fix it." Like, it was such a proud moment for us
Yeah.
because yeah, it was sad that she had left us, and that's what took her for her to see what we were trying to do for her, with her.
Yeah.
But the fact
Yeah.
that she had gone, "I got it," was a really proud moment for us. Like, we were
Yeah.
so proud of her and a little bit like, we achieved something. We did teach her something.
She's
It
been
was,
able to
yeah,
take what
she
she's
was
learnt.
she was so excited, and it was lovely to see because we hadn't seen her like that for a little while. So yeah, it was really good. So
No,
yeah,
that's why I
it
thought, yeah, she's a good example of that system rep and self-nominating. Okay, so that's the first one, system
yes,
representative. Okay,
yes,
the second ISO career opportunity I identified was an ISO consultant. So ISO consultants, they provide more external expertise, and they still guide businesses through implementing and certification processes. They also analyze, review existing systems to identify gaps. They develop the solutions as well. All about mainly helping organisations meet ISO requirements and maybe particularly certification as well. They might also be called in to integrate multiple standards, sort of, and even if there's been an update to a standard, to again do that gap analysis and see, okay, where are the gaps? What do we need to do? So the key focus areas for an ISO consultant are guiding a business through that ISO implementation and certification, developing solutions specifically unique or tailored for their system and what they do, conducting a gap analysis, and then um, filling those gaps, I suppose, and ensuring that there is conformance there. And they do that by providing that external expertise. So obviously, as a consultant, you're an external party. And of course, that in itself, if you are an ISO consultant or wanting to move into it, it is about building those long-term client relationships. Okay, it's an ongoing relationship that you establish. So as a consultant, you also need to be very personable. I think in any role in this, it's those soft
yeah.
skills which we talked about before.
I just think that people in general need to be personable,
Well,
regardless of
yes,
the
that's
job and what
always very
industry they're in.
helpful.
It is.
Yes.
Um, I think that I actually like that we've kind of followed this on, because as a systems rep, you are in it, doing it, seeing it. We here have part of our systems management improvement process is that when somebody writes a procedure, somebody from a different team comes in, has a look at it, gives it a test to make
Mm.
sure that the layperson on the street can follow that procedure. And I like to think of that, I think I've said it just before, they're kind of like mini ISO consultants, because they're bringing in a different perspective. They've got fresh eyes. They're not familiar necessarily with, well, they've got an understanding of the bigger picture, but not necessarily how your business or your team in our situation operates. And it's really good for them to kind of have a look and go, well, actually, here's a big gap here. And how often do you write a procedure that you do every single day and someone says, I've got no idea how to follow this because you've skipped core steps that you just do by muscle memory? So having that ISO consultant come in is that muscle memory identifier, I guess.
Yeah.
And they do give that fresh perspective of, okay, these are the gaps that you've got. But as you said, not only that, they can have a look and say, look, you're doing this well, but have you considered this one? And I think an ISO consultant, look, a lot of consultants get a bad rap, but that's probably because they're not personable. But a good consultant, and I can think of two off the top of my head, both of their names start with a capital K. It's not mine.
No bias there at
No
all.
bias, but
One
both.
could be, no. Sorry.
One may or may not have the same name as me. But yeah, they both are really passionate, inspired. They come in and they look, oh, I love what you've done. Have you looked at this? Have you considered this? We tried this, but you know what? That didn't work for us, but I can see it's working for you. They are both so open minded and they are completely transparent about things that they do and don't know. And they've built those long term relationships, they've built trust, respect. They have become thought leaders, both of them, in, I feel, quite a short period of time,
Yeah.
um, for what they've done because of the way that they handle themselves in that consulting space. But more importantly, I've had conversations with both of these women on many occasions, and not once has either of them pushed their thoughts,
Mm.
opinions, processes on me. If they disagree with me, oh, they appreciate my perspective and ask if I had considered such and such, or they've taken that on board. They might go away and go, oh my God, what the hell was she talking about? But they're really respectful in the way that they deal with people. And yet I have heard a couple of other students that we've had come through who are like, oh, I'm consulting for this company, and they will not implement my ideas and my suggestions. Well, how are you putting that to them? So I think if you're a consultant, I feel like you almost need to think of yourself not as the I feel like thinking of yourself as the expert could be detrimental. I feel that a great consultant looks at that as their own learning opportunity as well. So they're
It's collaborative. It's like
exactly.
that, and I sort of have that same approach as a certification auditor. Now, I'm
Mm,
not coming in with a great big stick. Like, I want them to succeed, and a consultant is the same. You're there
mm,
to help them to succeed and in the best possible way. So it's a collaborative approach. You're working together as teammates. Like, you and I work the same way. It's okay,
yeah.
we've got a common goal that we want to achieve. How can we do that together?
Yeah. A good consultant does not need to be present at the audit. A good consultant will
Absolutely.
make sure that the team that they are working with is right across their own systems.
Empowered. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Maybe a little bit of hand holding the first time or something like that, but
In the
it's
wings.
yeah, that's right. They shouldn't be the go-to for the answers, put it that way. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's consultant. So we've got system rep, we've got ISO consultant.
Mm,
The third ISO career opportunity I identified was an auditor.
funny enough.
Now, auditors obviously assess whether organisations comply with ISO standards. They identify what's conforming, what's not conforming, areas for improvement as well. There's different types of auditors also. So I did mention the system rep could also conduct internal audits. And now I'm not sure if we said it for the ISO consultant. The ISO consultant will also conduct internal audits. And
Mm,
that's with that focus on those in-house evaluations. And then there's external auditors, which could be certification auditors, regulatory auditors, I'll say that. Or you might call yourself a contract auditor as well. So it's normally external, and they'll do those external assessments or reviews, audits. Um, so obviously moving into this, we do normally say you do need to have that systems head and see how things join together, attention to detail, and the ability to deliver feedback constructively as well. So I think a big focus areas if you're moving into or you're in the auditing space, as I said, it is all about assessing systems for conformance and continual improvement collaboratively, identifying risks, weaknesses, and any opportunities for growth, delivering the audit findings, and you deliver them with clarity and professionalism. It's all about building trust. And then, of course, a big thing if you are an auditor, and look, this applies probably to any of these, is staying up to date with any changes in standards and business practices. What an auditor does not do is provide the corrective action, whereas the consultant will. Okay, the consultant's there to provide the corrective action, to fill the gaps. Okay, even the system representative might flick into both internal audits and, okay, now I'm going to take that hat off and assist with implementing a corrective action. As an external auditor, you do not consult. You are simply there to identify the gaps and report on those, whether they're conforming or not, and any areas for improvement. So that's the big area there that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. If you are big on opinions and sharing them and feelings about how things should or should not be, I would encourage you to become a consultant and not an auditor. If you are not open to feedback or pushback, is probably also a good way. Probably auditing is probably not your space, because while we are giving, as you said, the feedback on the systems, it is evidence-based, objective, not opinions. So if you've got opinions, maybe shuffle across to that consultant space. But if you are giving your objective outcomes, be prepared that you need to be able to back those up and be strong and steadfast in that space. So if you like to tell people that you are wrong and I am right and you can do nothing about that, also not the space for you. Please move into, I don't know, law enforcement. No, don't go into law enforcement. I don't like people like that in law enforcement either. But you're not there to tell people you are wrong and you need to do this. You, in the introduction, said that as an ice auditor, you want people to succeed. You're there to help them. And we talked about, as a consultant, being a collaborative role. I think going in as an auditor, you also have to have that mindset. Yes, you are somebody else coming out, but your role is not to pick their systems to pieces. It's to help them find ways to improve their quality, their safety, their impact, their morale, their culture. There is so much more there than just ticking an ISO box. So I think as an auditor, you need to have a personality, be personable, but you also need to be all of those personal behaviors. And if you have a strong opinion, or you cannot control your thoughts to your mouth, might not be the right space.
Very well put. Okay, so that's the auditor. Kelly's had her final say on that as well, and I don't need to add anything, I don't think. Okay, so the fourth ISO career opportunity I identified was a trainer and assessor, which includes the development of training as well. Now, this is one that I even sometimes forget about, believe it or not, even though it's something that I do, but it is definitely, a career path. So just because, you're training in it doesn't, and you might not be auditing or consulting, but you're still sharing the love. Okay, so, and to be able to do this, you should have, I suppose, reached a certain level in your career and have this amazing ability to share with people what it means, how to do it. Like, I think we've all come across people in our lives that are great at doing the job, but not so great at teaching it. It's actually two different skills. Yes, you might have a great technical knowledge, but it's a completely different skill to actually be able to teach people and bring them on that journey. So that is a whole different additional skill set. Okay. So of course, as a trainer and assessor, training developer, like obviously, you can call it whatever. Sometimes it's facilitator, course developer, I've seen. So what your focus would be if you're moving into this or working in this area is designing specific training programs. Of course, we're talking about ISO, and it will also mean about like delivering those training programs as well. You might also have to create the learning materials. So you don't need to be a designer and know how to do that, because I'm certainly not, but you need to be able to picture what you need the learner to understand and complete in that learning material. So that's all part of that design and development side of it. It's all, and I suppose I'm just thinking of me. I love sharing anything to do with ISO and auditing. So I think some sort of level of passion and the love of sharing what you do and sharing stories is always great. Because it's really important, I think, to share that passion and get other people along for the ride. So, and also this other thing that I love is learning. It's that culture of learning, that growth mindset, learning mindset, culture of knowledge. So you're sort of embedding yourself within that culture of knowledge and sharing it with up and coming people in the industry as well. You'll also be training people that do have some extensive experience, that have a lot to offer as well. So I know I always say this when we train together, Kelly's, I always learn something from our students every time, because they see it from a different perspective sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Those students who have more experience than I do, years on this planet, they are always really good to have. But I find that as a trainer and assessor, I often learn more from those students who have no experience and ask a lot more questions, because they start to make you look at things differently. As you said, they open
Get
your
back to basics.
opportunity. Yeah. Yeah. And the same with our team. Like, why do we do that? Well, we do that because of this. But if you have a different way, I'd love to hear it, because we can work that in, all those sorts of things. So I think that this is, again, a great category, but again, fits into a lot of those other spaces informally. You've got your systems rep, is doing a bit of everything, but I also feel like the trainer, assessor, developer, facilitator, designer, whatever, in that training and development space, they're also in a lot of those little spaces, because they're going to look at those improvement opportunities and think, how can I communicate to our team how we can do this better? That's training. How can I make sure this doesn't happen again? Well, training.
Yeah.
Every single one of these has a little I was going to say dotted line, but everything on the graph today has a dotted line. So there's another line of whatever.
Yeah. And we did talk about this with system rep, because training might be a part of that. Consulting training will be a part of that. Auditing, no. Not with the same people.
Not so training and development as an auditor going into a space and a place, definitely not. But you pick up your things and you go home and you train, facilitate, develop your own skills.
Yeah.
How could I have done that better? What did they do differently to what I've seen before that I could learn from? So while you're not sharing and training others, when you get home, like, you do this, and I don't know if you've thought of it this way, go home, if I was teaching those people to do it differently, what would I do? Keep it in your own little back pocket in your notes, but learn from it and apply it in other places. Share those experiences and opportunities, confidentially, of course. But depends on how you look at that one.
Yeah, true. And I suppose it is that it's just that cycle of improvement, really, and
Mm,
because we talked about this earlier about why people just fall into accidentally this role. It's because we're being exposed to these different applications of systems through the years of being in the workforce,
mm,
essentially. So
yeah.
it's still ongoing, isn't it? You're talking about, your own feedback. So giving
Mm,
yourself your own, I think what's the saying? Don't turn your inner critic into an inner coach.
mm,
So yeah, giving yourself feedback, but also, yeah, I learn a lot from the audits that I do, and therefore I get lots of great stories as well to share with our students, confidentially, of course, but it gives them that real world perspective. So all of these that we've mentioned, the four so far, gives you that real world perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Fifth.
The fifth ISO career opportunity I identified was coaching and mentoring. So, coaching and mentoring roles really focus on more so like helping individuals. You might do some group or team coaching and mentoring as well, but I sort of the focus on this is more about that internal growth and turning that internal growth into confidence more so, whereas training is about competence and knowledge. Coaching and mentoring is about confidence. Okay, confidence and capabilities. Okay, it's supporting them applying their knowledge. So you can be an ISO career coach or industry mentors as well. So it's very personalized to the industry. So obviously, normally it's people that have been through all of the different channels within the ISO industry, and you might naturally end up doing it, as Kelly said before, with people that you're working with as well. So you might also have focus areas on career planning, skill development as well. As I said, building confidence, but here's one, leadership abilities. It's not just a matter of doing a course and then everything falls into place, because guess what? There's people. And people don't always want to come along for the ride. So it's how to get the most out of people when you're implementing these changes and improvements. Okay. As a coach and mentor, it's also about supporting anyone transitioning between different roles or even industries as well. So it sort of gives that more personalized sort of strategies for that individual's growth and success. Like, as I said before, after all, I love sharing, and it's all about people being successful in this industry. I love sharing it and having people just as passionate as I am.
Yeah, that's a difficult task, but we're all about 50% of the way there. I think the core difference here between training and development and coaching and mentoring is typically, traditionally, training and development is here's all the knowledge, information, everything that you need. Thanks, bye. I'm gone. Coaching
Yes.
and mentoring, as you said, is about the people. It's about staying with them, giving them that opportunity to have someone to come to ask, to support, build their confidence, bounce ideas off, all of those sorts of things. So, as a trainer and assessor, you can share your skills, knowledge, experience. If you want to blow your own trumpet, go for it, but people will tune out. Um, as a coach and mentor, it's not about blowing your own trumpet or sharing your knowledge, well, just your knowledge. It's about those, as you said, those experiences and listening and support. It is much more about the person than
Mm.
the information. And I think that's possibly the difference there as
Yeah,
well. Anybody
absolutely.
who has seen our video about A lot of people think that they need more experience, more experience. Everyone's seen that video. If you haven't, are you even on the internet? Again, that's exactly what we're about. It's not just about, here's the training content, you've got access to that for 12 months, then we're taking it away for you and it's going to be outdated and see you later, too bad, come and enroll again, do it all again. It's not about just that. You do need, in this space, it is evolving so much so often, and there are so many amazing people out there and so many new opportunities and so many new ISO standards. You do need someone to be there for you and support you and share those experiences with, that has been through it before. I think that's important in any industry or any role, but I think that's the core difference we're looking at here is, as you said before, we know of some trainers who have never gone out and done an external audit, but they're teaching people about that. I'm really open. I've never done an external audit, but I do our internal audits, and I'm honest with that. I leverage other people's experience. I don't pretend to be somebody that I'm not. But I could if I wanted to, and I didn't want to be authentic. But as a coach or a mentor, you can't just do that. You can't say, oh, I'm going to pretend that I have all of this wonderful experience, and I'm going to pretend that I relate to you and what you're going through. So for me, there is a core difference in those two sections. But again,
that's a really good point.
They kind of flip around a bit.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. It's actually interesting how you can extract what I'm trying to say. You're sort of like my personal chat GPT. that
9.5 years
translates.
Right.
Yeah, it translates. Oh, this is what Jackie's trying to say and explain, and put it in much simpler terms.
I reckon I understand you better than Lee does.
Yes, I absolutely. Like Lee, that's my husband, and sometimes we will be having the same conversation, but the words are completely different and we're arguing about it, but we're actually saying the same thing. Whereas
yeah. John and I do the same thing. I do the same thing with my son. Yeah, it's
all in the words. But
actually, I will share a story about this, and it kind of does come down to that difference between training and developing and coaching and mentoring. So we've shared that we've gone through a lot here in the last 18 months, and on the weekend we were cleaning out the pantry because it had been a bit chaotic. Yeah, I know. It wasn't horrendous, but it had become disorganized and messy, like
as pantries do.
Yeah, exactly. So we pulled it all out and we were reorganizing things. Full disclosure, John is our wonderful cook, grocery shopper, everything, because I work from home, he doesn't, and he picks all of that up. He can also look in the fridge full of half done whatevers and go, here is a banquet fit for a king, and I need a recipe and takes me 10 times as long as the recipe takes to follow. So we're very different people in that. We were sorting the things in the different sections, and he grabbed the fish sauce and the oyster sauce, and he went, they're going in the Asian box for whatever. And I was like, okay, let's see this out. And then he grabbed the curry paste and a different sauce, not a cook, they'll go in the Indian box. And then he grabbed another sauce and went, I'll put that in the Thai box, because we've got we eat a lot of Thai
sorting
food.
by cuisine.
Yes. And then I looked at him and I said, but what about the fish sauce that you just put in the Asian, Chinese, Japanese kind of box? What happens when I'm wanting to make something Thai and I need the fish sauce? He goes, well, you just go there. And but you told me that that's for that and that's for that. It was okay. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. It doesn't.
It makes sense with how he cooks. It doesn't make sense for me because I don't cook.
If I'm looking for sauce, I'm going to the box that says sauce.
Sauce, that's right. Just all the sauces.
So it was very interesting to watch two trainers have this discussion, two trainers in the ISO industry, about this is the best, this is the most obvious way. And we kind of looked at each other and went,
yeah,
Okay, if we were to ask somebody else to come in, where would they look? I won the
Mm.
argument, and we now have sources in a source
In the
box.
sources. Yeah, but I can see John's
Exactly.
approach because he is such a good cook. He he sorts it by cuisine because he can just go, oh, I'm going to make Indian tonight and grab all the stuff that he needs for that cuisine.
Yeah. So that for us was that kind of moment of like, well, hang on, as a system, my system was different to his system, but it was our trainer mentality that stopped us both in our tracks and went, well, hang on, if somebody came into this space that had no experience, how would they fill
Look
that in?
for it.
So
Yeah.
neither of us were coaching or mentoring each other at that point in time. But again, it comes down to whatever pathway you're in here. I mentioned when we were talking about auditors the importance of the personal behaviors of an auditor. I really feel that every single one of these roles, those personal behaviors apply. And being open minded, tenacious, open to improvement. Um, and I'll stop there. Collaborative, we've mentioned a million times.
Yeah.
Every single one of those personal behaviors is important to anybody in this industry, and that's what's going to get you along any of these pathways, no matter what level you're at, whether you're that systems rep, you're the auditor, consultant, coach, mentor. I feel that a coach and mentor is the pinnacle of this because you are all of those things, and you are, as you said, willing to share your experience and learn from other people as well. So
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
that that's I'm a little bit disappointed it's at the bottom. Uh,
Well, it's not really on the bottom, but yeah, they do all wrap in together. And I
they
think you
do.
said something that triggered me to remember also. I did mention this way at the beginning, but when I talked about, or we talked about each of these five roles, remember, like I talked about the different focus, but any of these roles can be across any of the standards,
Exactly. And they're
any criteria. Like
yeah,
we've
it
got lots
doesn't
of NDIS auditors,
aged care,
aged care.
high
Yeah,
voltage.
yeah. Yeah, so that's something, sorry, I forgot to mention as we went through each of the five, they all just sit under, within, throughout any of these. So, for me, all of these five, I've done all five and still doing one, two, three, four of them, maybe four and a half.
Mm,
I just do quality environment, no H&S. That's my expertise. To be honest, as you know, my favorite is quality, and possibly over time, that's what my focus will be. But then I couldn't do food. I couldn't do infosec. That's
mm.
someone else. Someone else can do any of these roles with information security, with food, like John, your partner, his is food.
Yeah.
So you bring your experience to the table from certain industries, and that's another thing, actually, industries. So my
Mm.
background's construction. So any high risk stuff, that's construction. I can't manufacturing, no experience whatsoever. So what we bring to the table is specific industry experience, and then that exposure to the different standards as well. And we can do all of these five. You can do one, two, three, four, or five, but we could be in a completely different field. So, that's why, and I'm a big believer in, we're not competitors, we work together so we can support each other. We all have our own unique way of doing things.
Mm.
Okay, so, and this goes back to that coaching and mentoring, that whole community as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Have I talked too much?
I don't know. The listeners will tell.
Okay, so I'll summarize these
Yes.
five. Okay, so the first one was a system rep. Remember, I said that it might not be what that's called. A system rep is normally internal within an organisation, and is like the champion of the system. All right, you could be called a coordinator, a manager, an officer, an advisor. Did I say administrator? I think I did. You could be called anything, but I've sort of wrapped it as a system rep. Then you've got an ISO consultant, so they're more external. So the system rep was internal, and ISO consultant is an external expert that comes in and helps with the growth, conformance, and improvement of your system. They may also they should also conduct internal audits as part of that process. That's a good segue to auditors as well. So an auditor is the third possible career option for you. And that could be as an internal auditor, but it could also be as an external auditor, which are normally certification auditors, contract auditors, regulatory auditors, that sort of thing. And you just go in and conduct a review on what the business is actually doing against a set criteria. Then the fourth one is a trainer, assessor, training developer as well. So you'll design, develop training and assessment, as well as deliver it, and you could also market as well. So that will include different learning programs. You might facilitate workshops, build different types of material, etc. And then finally, the last ISO career option is coaching and mentoring. So as Kelly sort of pointed out, the big difference between coaching and mentoring and training and development is coaching and mentoring is a lot more personal. It's more helping to develop the growth of an individual in the industry. Okay, they've gone through the training and development, they've got the knowledge, but now they work with a coach or mentor to help build their confidence, learn the application of what they've taken away with their knowledge, help them with finding different career opportunities within the ISO industry, and become leaders in the industry, essentially. Okay, there's a lot of skills that sort of underlay becoming an ISO professional, and it's not just reading the standard. Okay, it's leadership is a core part of it, right? So as always, before I hand it back to Kelly, I'd like to close with stay curious, always lead the standard. By staying curious and leading the standard, you'll continually find new opportunities for growth and excellence in your ISO career.
Thank you, Jackie. That is a wrap for this week's Lead the Standard. Today, we did uncover the diverse and rewarding career paths within the ISO industry. Talking about systems reps, ISO consultants, auditors, trainers, coaches. So if you have ever wondered how you might fit into this field or what it takes, I really do hope that this episode gave you plenty to think about. My key takeaway today was that we are all systems representatives, whether it's ISO or not, we should all be sitting in that space. So even if it's not your title at the moment, think about yourself that way. And if your business doesn't need it, self-nominate. And that's the first step to kickstarting your ISO standards industry career pathway. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing your expertise and helping us see the endless possibilities within the ISO world. Next week, we are continuing the conversation with an episode that, as always, nobody wants to miss this one. 5 powerful lessons learned to shape your best year yet. So be sure to tune in for actionable insights to kickstarting your year with intention and purpose. We talked a couple of weeks ago about some struggles, but we've had some insights. So please join us next week. Thank you for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe, share, leave us a review. Until next time, take care, keep leading the standard. Bye for now.
Thank you.